everyone, and welcome to the Scratticus Academy. We are back with some Redwall, and I'm very, very excited for it. First of all, please go check out our Discord. You can see also separate rooms for like this campaign and the others if you want to go and yell into the void or discuss theories or whatever. We've also got a YouTube channel where you can go and see the previous weeks if you've missed out on anything, so you can catch up on the playlists there. We also have Twitter, and as Scrat says, please retweet the tweet because the tweet helps. I can't do it. Sharing the tweet helps us, so thank you is what I'll say. And also a huge thank you to our wonderful sponsors in the form of Deck of Many, who creates some seriously awesome moving magic style cards, which I'm a little obsessed with, and also Mage Hand Press, and you can see their system run every Thursday by me in Argo 37. Otherwise, I'm going to hand over to the lovely Rachel straight away. So there you go. Oh, hi.
Oh, hi. Well, hello and welcome everyone to Heroes of Redwall Chapter 7. 7 episodes already. This is bananas. Yeah, it's been so much fun so far, and I can't wait for us to reach the next part. But before we kick off, I just want everyone to tell us a little bit about who they're playing tonight and who they are. Starting next time, let's go clockwise this time, starting with Alice. Tell us a little bit about Holt.
Oh, hi, I'm Alice, or White Rabbit Pick. I play Holt, who is your big brother Otter, who is taller probably than most otters. He's top heavy. He's pretty chunky, he's happy to be here, and he is a bit of a disaster, and he can't concentrate for too long, and he normally breaks things with his tail or his matter. He's very unaware of his own presence, but right now he's currently somehow charging through the trees after Lady Anastasia.
Indeed he is. So next up we have Heavenly with the adorable Gruber, who we all love so much.
Hello everyone, I'm Heavenly. I'm playing Gruber, who is a Rambo-esque mole who maybe kind of got the group into the situation by suggesting that we went at night. I'm not exactly sure why everyone agreed to do that, but we did it. and now Lady Anastasia has been kidnapped. So we gotta get her back.
I think this might be like the most gullible party I've ever played with, but I love it. I love it a lot. You're all too pure. Okay, so next round we have Asher, who I've just seen has the most ridiculous stack of advantages to use.
I do. I have so many advantages. Yes, hi everyone. I am Derek Sword, DSword16 on Twitter. I am playing Asher, who he has actually, I guess more than the other characters, discovered his background. He is actually Lord Ashbel Silverstripe, Prince of Salamandra-Strawn, Lord of the Long Patrol, and Protector of Redwall. Lots of titles, love it. He is actually probably going to use one of his abilities for the first time in this game, Blood Wrath. So let's see how that goes.
I've been waiting for you to use that one. So last but certainly not least, the wonderful Angeli playing Lady Anastasia. Assuming we're not muted.
Yeah! Oh, I'm so good at being online. I did that yesterday on my stream as well, and I talked for 10 minutes before someone told me. Hello, I'm Angelique, Go Bookworm. I am playing Lady Anastasia. Lady Anastasia is a self-proclaimed noble hedgehog of dubious backgrounds. Who knows what's going on? But she believes she is, well, she is now, because she got officially, like, knighted. She's a real lady of Redwall, protector of herself, killer of frogs. Garden shear extraordinaire, that's her title. She may have made a slight misread of a situation and agreed to go with what seems to be cannibals to their camp. So, small error. Hopefully, everyone is behind me somewhere and will come and save me, because I'm only a mole.
It's true. It's very true. So, and last we come to me. I am Rachel. You can find me on all the social medias at Talonit. and today I am your recorder for this lovely game, and very happy to be here as well. But I think it's probably time that we see what our characters are up to. So, a very quick recap, a little bit of a setting the scene. Darkness of night in Mossflower Woods is broken by firelight, a tall bonfire dancing and blazing in the heart of a wide clearing, somewhere a little ways west of Redwall Abbey. Around the fire, we see an arrangement of tents and pulleys, as well as platforms and ropes that lead aloft into the tall, stately trees of the ancient forest. An array of cages sits not far from the fire, constructed with boughs of dried riverwood and swamp canes, in which we see a small, huddled figure. The Lady Anastasia is pulled into the camp, a captive of two gangly-looking tree rats, painted with mud and leaves to hide their presence in the thick canopy where they prefer to hunt. At that moment, there is a crackling and creaking from above, and a large, rangy otter drops down from the branches above in a flurry of twigs and debris, falling into the forest ground and scrambling to his paws. This, of course, is Holt. The rats look at each other in bewilderment before leveling cruel-looking spears at the otter surrounding him. In so doing, they turn their backs on Anastasia, who has been left next to the cage with the single occupant. Meanwhile, a far-off crashing and thudding can be heard as something far larger barrels through the woodland. It is, of course, Asher, the immense badger, as he careens towards the clearing, the mole Gruber in tow. What would everyone like to do? At the moment, you're in a bit of a Mexican standoff. The rats are all circled inwards with their spears pointing at you, Holt. You have 3 of them currently here, and you do also see 2 more a little ways off. Well, one is on the other side of the clearing, and the other one is above you on some of these platforms up towards the canopy.
I think Holt is not really thinking. He's been running to get to Lady Anastasia for a while, and probably not quite as cool as a superhero landing out of the tree, but if he sees them sort of surrounding him, he's literally just going to spin round and try and take his tail across.
Okay, I really like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to call this a greater action. Mm-hmm. So you'll basically be doing, it's a bit like using a big axe sweep. So you'll be doing a big tail sweep to try and knock over all 3 of these rats. So what I'm going to have you do is roll a fighting check for me. Mm-hmm. However, because you are what's called doing kind of a split attack, what you can do is, and I'll give you a choice, you can use athletics for this if you would like, because you're not so much trying to do damage to knock them all prone, like bowling pins. So what you do with a split attack is you split your pool of d6s, any which way you like, but you've got 3 targets, so you need to have 3 pools made out of your, basically one big pool, if that makes sense.
Okay. I've also got 2 speciality die in athletics as well, which I'll use. Okay. I'm not trying to like hurt them. I'm going to take
knock them down.
So I will roll all the dice, including the speciality. Okay.
Hang on, I'm just trying to organize my tabs. There we go. Oh boy. Right, so basically tell me how you'd like to group those.
He will use a 6 for each one of the rats, and then he's going to pair up 2 of the 4s and the 5. I've got the others.
All right, so I think between that, you're still able to get 10 or above on all 3. So these rats go down like bowling pins, and you just see them kind of fall flat on their backs on the ground and start kind of scrabbling to get up. He's
like, Mom, like running and crashing through.
So with that, I think this is a good place to roll some initiative, just so we can try and keep things in a nice trackable order. So if everyone would like to roll, and this will also include Asher and Gruber, you're about 1 turn away because you were a little way behind the rats, even though you have been running. So I need to roll for the El Ratus Ratus.
Remind me what I add for initiative. I don't know why I can't ever remember.
Oh, it's all right. It's unlike most other systems. So you're just doing an agility check. So you're rolling number of dice equal to your agility modifier.
I am rolling well today. This never happens.
Okay. The rats kind of suck. I'm going to do them in 2 groups, actually. The ones around you that you dripped and the ones that aren't. Okay, so who have we got right at the top? I think that's Holt leading us.
And me.
Oh, yeah, actually, you're right. Which of you's got the higher base? Oh, you've both got the same. Of course you have.
Yeah.
Well, what I'll do is I'll let you decide amongst the 2 of you who goes first.
Well, Lady Anastasia can go first if I've just made them all turn their backs.
That's
If it
true.
knocks them down, then she's probably going to have an opportunity anyway.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, and then we have Gruber, who I always abbreviate to Grub when I'm writing my initiative trackers. Then we have... Oh, the rats are going together anyway. And then last of all, we have Asher, who in your half plate isn't the quickest, let's say. Okay, so starting from the top, Lady Anastasia, the rats have turned their backs on you to point their spears at Holt. However, they have now just been floored by a mighty sweep of the otter's tail. At your back, there is this kind of poorly constructed cage, and you can see there is a small figure inside. Well, I say small, they're about the same size as you. And in front of you is the big bonfire in the center and these rats on the ground. You can also see one more rat up on one of these platforms who's just kind of looked down, and one rat on the other side of the cap.
Okay. What's the cage made out of?
The cage looks like it's been made out of kind of like river driftwood and lashed together with just kind of rope and sinew.
Right. Then I shall pull out my sword and say, "Hey, you!" and I shall try and break said cage down.
All right, fantastic. Let's just have a straight up athletics check from you.
Boom.
Wow, yes. Your hedgehog muscles bulge as you splinter a large portion of this cage, and you just kind of, this wood just kind of cracks under your blade. And you see the little figure huddled at the other end just kind of jumps and looks up at you. And roll a awareness check for me.
Awareness.
Okay, no, it's pretty good. You see another hedgehog. They look fairly young. You can't tell if they're your age or slightly older or slightly younger. You see that they've got this kind of green, kind of woolly green cloak that they've kind of been hugging around themselves, just kind of comfort themselves a little bit. And you see these kind of these long, well cared for spines, a little bit paler than yours, just kind of poking through this cloak, and the long kind of twitchy hedgehog nose and these big brown eyes as they look at you. But they look for them like temporarily kind of awestruck for the moment. Do you have one more kind of lesser action to use? What would you like to do?
I'd like to climb into the cage and move towards small hedgehog.
Okay, you can do that. Cool. I should probably have actually rolled for the hedgehog as well. Okay, somehow it's as good as the rats. All right, Holt, you're up next.
Okay, Holt. So I've just knocked these other 3 over.
Yeah, there are
Correct.
3 prone on the ground. One up on the platform, kind of halfway up towards the trees. There's like this complex kind of woven platforms of ropes and stuff that helps them get up into the trees.
Are there any ropes that look rather essential that if I jumped on them, it would cause chaos and pull it down?
I tell you what, you can spend a destiny point to make it so.
Then I shall make it so. I can do that. Okay. Do I roll agility or athletics to try to bring it down?
Are you, so you can see this rope. You can see it kind of is in the core of this kind of network of these pulleys and systems. And you feel like you probably have to throw something to try and cut it.
Okay.
So that would be agility.
Okay. I will roll agility. Where's my agility? Oh.
You do have some advantages, which you can use in the system we use for rerolls.
Yeah, I think I'll do that because I don't want to just like throw a rock.
All
and it
right, so
drops just in
essentially
front of me.
every advantage you spend equals another d6 you can roll.
Okay. Oh,
Okay.
I see what you mean. Okay.
It's all right. If you'd rather just spend one or two, you can sub in some of those numbers. Think of it like
Yeah,
bonus
I'll
dice.
sub. Hang on. How many advantages have I got? I've got loads. I'm
You
gonna
have got quite a lot.
I'm gonna use all three of them. Why not?
All right. Well, with that, all three of them, that is enough. You, what is it you're actually throwing?
If he can see whether it's just like a big hefty sort of rock or something, like shot put it, or
Yeah, no, I can
if
say
there's a
that's
blade
fine.
or something. Yeah, and he's not thinking. He's on a bit of a rage. Just picked up a rock and he's throwing it.
Yeah. You pick up this rock with these really nasty, sharp edges that you reckon might have been used a bit like a whetstone or something, and you just lob it towards these tangled ropes and pulleys. And you see it kind of smash through one of these pulleys that they kind of constructed, these kind of very crude metal pulleys, and then it just like careens through into the ropes, and you see bits start to fall and tangle, and then there's like a crack as a lot of these platforms start kind of falling into one another, and you just kind of, it's almost like you're watching slow motion this kind of train crash happen as all these bits just start to crack and fall into each other and collapse. You see the rat that was standing on these platforms starts to also go down with the ship. So they are starting to fall, which they're going to have to address on their turn. Cool. You have one more lesser action, which you can use to move or attack.
I think he'll move towards Lady Anastasia more than anything.
Okay, yeah. You see Lady Anastasia has climbed, she's kind of smashed her way into this wooden cage and climbed inside toward this small, spiny figure on the other side. They're small to you, they're about the same size as Anastasia. And you can basically put yourself in between the rats and this hole that she's kind of made into the cage to stop anyone going in to hurt her.
Yeah, he's sort of like stood in between, like his back to her, so he can still watch the rats that are falling. But he's just like, "You all right, miss?" Like as he sort of like moves around. Okay, and he's just gonna like try and make himself look big, like he puffs his chest out.
Awesome. All right. So Gruber, you're up next. You've got about a turn of running to do before you actually get to the clearing.
Okay, well, I'm also super hurt.
Yes, you did take quite a lot of damage last session. So if you would like to, you can take a lesser action to start kind of just like bandaging up your wounds, which might help you kind of restore some HP.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that.
Cool. So that would be a healing check. Okay, with an 8, you are able to, let me just find my crypt sheet for all of this stuff. You're able to heal 2 points.
Okay.
And the way that first aid and healing works in this game is, because it's based on the Song of Ice and Fire system, you can only kind of make healing checks once every, essentially you could call it a long rest, because it's meant to be fairly real world. That if you get hurt, it takes a while to get healed until you can see like a professional kind of physic, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got one more lesser action, which you can use to keep running if you like.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to keep running towards the clearing.
Okay, so you're a little bit faster than Asher anyway, but we have this kind of shot of you running across through the forest towards this light of this clearing, kind of hopping and awkwardly bandaging yourself whilst you're running. It's quite endearing. Anyway, so after Gruber, we have the rats. Starting with the one who's currently plummeting and trying to scrabble and hold onto platforms as they drop. They're going to make an athletics check to try and hold onto a rope to avoid falling and taking certain damage. Oh, not D10, that's what am I talking about? Oh, wow. Yeah, this is a very athletic kind of, also a bit of a Rambo rat. as he grabs hold of one of the trailing ends of rope and manages to hold onto it until this kind of landslide of bits of wood and rope and pulleys kind of comes to a standstill and stops careening down from the canopy. However, they are now kind of just hanging there, so they are going to try and climb up the rope into the canopy and somewhere relatively safe. So that's going to be another athletics check for them. They're quite good at this. Okay, and that's just about enough for them to essentially kind of climb up into the canopy, giving them cover. And you see this. You'd see this happen, Holt, as the one that you tried to knock down manages to just about hold on to the ropes and take himself up into the canopy. But there is now no direct way down, if that makes sense, without jumping. Cool. And then the other rat, there is one that you did not knock down, who is on the other side of the camp, who essentially kind of looked up and his ears pricked up as soon as you kind of dropped into the vicinity. They're going to grab their short bow and try and get a hit on you, but whilst keeping a safe distance. So they use one lesser action to kind of knock the bow, and the second lesser is going to be to fire. Okay, so that's going to be a 15 to hit Holt. Holt, what is your combat defense?
I realised I was muted. I'm doing
That's all right.
My combat defense is 10.
10. So that's going to hit you for just barely twice damage. So that damage is going to equal agility -1, maybe? Let me just double. Let me consult my book. Because weapons are very specific in this book. A lot of balancing gone into this. I don't want to make it all for naught. Hold on. There it is. Okay. It's going to be... No, it's just normal agility. So you are going to take 6 points of damage. I believe you soak 2 or 3 of those? Soak 3. Okay. 3. So you take 3 points of damage as you feel an arrow just kind of dig into kind of just next to your shoulder. It's not in a bad enough place to kind of stop you using your arms, but there is definitely that kind of thunk Boromir feel as this arrow hits you.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's the other rats. The other rats are going to take a turn. They're all going to have to spend a lesser action to get to their feet, and they are then one of them is going to run to its companion and get out another bow, but they're not able to attack this turn. And the other two are going to draw these vicious-looking... they've got these nasty-looking spears. So basically, they're going to pick those up off the ground. And that's actually going to be their whole action, because to interact and kind of arm yourself is also a lesser action if you need to switch weapons or pick a weapon up. And since you knocked them on the floor, that did a pretty good job. Okay, but they have now essentially got these spears back on you. All right, Asher, it's your turn. You've got 1 turn of travel, essentially, before you arrive at the camp.
Okay. Yeah, I think he's going to run towards the camp. I think he's exhausted. He's very out of breath. He's kind of like foaming at the mouth a little bit. And like his runner's high is basically just going to kind of transform into this blood wrath. He's absolutely furious. So I guess my entire turn would get like just to the edge of the camp.
Yep, and then you essentially fly into the Redwall equivalent of a barbarian rage.
Right. So he has his shield on his back. He has his axe in one hand and his hand and a half sword in the other. And he's just gonna, for his perception, he basically yells out, "I am Lord Asher Silverstripe, Prince of Salamandastron, Lord of the Long Patrol, Protector of Redwall. That is a lady of Salamandastron, and you will keep your filthy paws off of her." But to everyone else, you just hear, "Ah!"
And to be fair, you do indeed see Lady Anastasia, who appears to be in one of the cages, which is pretty irksome.
Right. He's blinking a lot, but asymmetrically, so it's just like one eye after the other. Yeah, there's foam. It's unsettling.
The rest of you would also notice that the whites of Asher's eyes have started to cloud kind of pink. Okay, and you spend your full action to move, and just at the end of your turn, you essentially burst out into this clearing, and you can see the crazy shit going down, basically. And we're back up to the top of the turn. Anastasia.
Yes, I look out of the cage at my feral friends. That's new. Okay. He's got all of that dealt with. I don't need to worry about what's going on outside there. That'll be fine. I would like to talk to Hedgehog.
Okay. You turn and you can kind of see this hedgehog about your size, just kind of looking fearfully towards Asher at this point.
Don't worry about him. He's a prince. He's very important. And well, I've not seen him angry before. He does appear to be angry now. That's probably a little bit my fault. There may be some bloodshed, so probably let's look this way, over to the back of the cage here. That would be better. Yeah, let's just turn around. Nothing to see.
You hear the young hedgehog kind of looks to you like fearfully. You can see looks pretty tired. You don't know how long they've been here. But they speak up and they say, you say that massive badger is with you?
Yes.
Well, that is a relief. And you hear this kind of very soft, kind of masculine voice. And they look slightly more relaxed, and you just kind of see this wave of exhaustion pass over him, and he seems to relax a little bit, but still holds this cloak tight. You see that now you're a little bit closer. There are loads of kind of leaves and twigs and furs that have just been kind of stuck to his spines and his cloak.
I'll start taking those off.
Thank you very much. And he suddenly seems a little bit kind of embarrassed about his disheveled appearance and starts kind of helping you out.
Don't worry, I was living in a swamp the other day. It's disgusting. So, a couple of leaves don't bother me at all. I had to sleep on soggy ground.
Wait, what's your name?
Oh, I am Lady Anastasia Toodywinkle. I'm sure you've heard of me.
You see him frown and look a little bit, and kind of there's this intense concentration on his face. Actually, that does sound a little bit familiar.
I'm quite famous. I assume. I don't really remember, but I assume I am quite famous.
That must be it. That must be where I've heard your name before. But thank you so much. Are you here to rescue me? I must say it was very.
Why else would I have let cannibals drag me?
I thought so. I was a bit confused, but that's a very, very clever tactic to get them to take you to their camp.
I am wise beyond my years.
And he looks again. There's that expression of admiration again on his face. You also notice now he's wearing this very simple, but this rich, dark forest green kind of habit with a kind of a tan-colored cord kind of tied around the waist. Okay, so next up, Holt. You have two heavily armed rats facing off at you.
Yeah. Are there any still in the trees, or?
One of them kind of scampered, caught a rope, and managed to climb up into the canopy, and you lost sight of them.
Okay, I've lost sight of him. Okay.
Well, they're essentially above, in the trees and the leaves, basically.
Okay, and there's two in front of me that are...
If you would like to try and spot the one in the leaves, I will let you roll an awareness check as a lesser action.
He will not. Otherwise, I was going to take one and throw it into the tree. I think he's just going to use his tail again. He's going to be trying to take them out so that they can't run away.
All right, roll another of those athletics check, and then tell me how you want to split your pool. This time only between two, because one of them has dashed back to join its companion with the bow.
Question, can I use my speciality die each time? I can never remember.
Yes, you can, but essentially you swap them in for dice rather than them acting as extra dice. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
So assume you're mitigating the 1 and the 3.
Yeah, I'll get rid of a 1 and a 3. So each one will get a 5.
Yeah.
No, 2 of them.
Yeah, no, you only had to beat. You only had to beat a 10.
Yeah.
As once again, you just like it's as if you do this kind of. It's like your press B move in Smash, where you just do this power sweep of your tail and send them kind of falling over again. However, this time they were a little bit more prepared, so we're going to see if they drop their spears. So this is going to be probably agility to try and hold on to them. First one and second one. Okay, the first one holds on to its spear. The second one fumbles, and you see it kind of drop it again. Okay, would you? And that was because that was a split attack. That was a major action.
Yes.
Cool. So Gruber, you are up next.
All right. How far away am I from the clearing?
You would take one lesser action to essentially be at the clearing, and then you'd have one lesser action once you get there.
Okay. Can I see Lady Anastasia kind of conversing with them in the cage?
Roll an awareness check for me. This won't be an action. I just want to kind of see how much you see. Oh wow, I forgot how aware you were.
So aware.
Okay, you not only see Lady Anastasia talking to a young male hedgehog in the cage, you see that she's helping kind of pick pieces of leaf and twig off of it and seems to be having a little conversation. You watch as Holt is there in front of the cage and lays out these 2 rats. You also see 2 more rats on the other side of the clearing, both readying bows to shoot at Holt. Okay. You also hear a rustling in the trees above the clearing.
Okay. Am I far enough away from where I hear the rustling to shoot my short bow, or do I need to get closer?
You would need to probably get to, well, either. This is basically the choice. You can knock your bow and shoot, although they will have cover from the trees, or you can get closer to the edge of the clearing and then knock your bow, but shoot on your next turn.
Okay. I'm gonna get closer to the rustling sound specifically, and knock my bow and shout, "Who's there in that tree? I'll shoot you. I'll do it. I'll do it."
Okay, fantastic. You actually hear the rustling stops for a second, and let's see, this rat's going to try and make a stealth check, which my baddies don't do very often. Okay, and your awareness is 5, which is freaking ridiculous, right? Okay, yeah. In which case you kind of hear an attempt of this rat to make no sound as it moves through the trees, but then you can easily really hear the leaves moving and the twigs snapping as it just moves slower than it did before without being any less easy to hit. And you kind of hear the unmistakable kind of sound of a bow being knocked from up in the trees as well. However, it can't shoot because it had to stealth and then knock the bow. So next up is the next rats. The 2 on the ground are both going to get up. One is going to have to also pick its spear up, so that's going to miss its turn. The other one, who is holding its spear, gets to take a 1 jab at Holt. So that's what it's going to do. Okay, Holt. Your combat defense, what was it at the moment?
It was a 10.
A 10. Okay, so this doesn't actually get double damage. You would take 4 points, reduced to 1, thanks to your armor. as you get like this kind of jab as it's not throwing itself into the attack, seeing how big you are and just trying to stay as far on the other end of the spear from you as it can. Then we have the 2 rats on the other side. One, actually, they should probably roll awareness checks to see if they notice Asher just bursting through the clearing. And the other one. Okay, one sees Asher, the other one is too focused on Holt. So the one that's focused on Holt is going to let its arrow fly at Holt. 6. So mitigating that 2, that's going to be a 9. So that's not actually going to hit, is it?
Nope.
No. So you hear an arrow just thunk into the tree next to your ear, missing it by a fraction. The other one sees Asher, kind of freaks out a little bit, and is going to loose the arrow at Asher. Ooh, that's better. 21, Asher.
That is 3 times my combat defense.
What exactly is your combat defense?
7.
It's 7 to the letter. So the difference is 14, which incidentally is enough to do some big damage. You are going to take, what do these guys do? 3 with their bows. You would take 9 points of damage, which I believe is mitigated down to 1.
It is mitigated down to 0. I have 9
You have
damage.
9?
I have
Jeez.
9 too.
So you do. Wow, you kind of feel as this arrow does a severe indent on your breastplate, and you feel like if that had been like a longbow rather than a little short bow, that would probably have hit you in the chest. So you're very grateful for your half plate right now.
I am at all times. Am I grateful for the half plate?
Okay, and that is the rat's turn as they just scrabble to the defense. Asher, it is now your turn.
Great. So lay out the battlefield for me. Let me.
Okay,
This
this
is
is
what
the
water first.
battlefield. We have a circular clearing in the middle of the woodlands that is, you see a few trees that have been felled. There are some stumps here and there. In the center of the clearing is this very large bonfire, flames and the sparks just kind of drifting up into the night sky. But the clearing is large enough whereby it isn't too much of a forest fire hazard. Around the edges of the clearing, there are ramshackle kind of tents and these wooden cages. You can see, essentially, if you were at, let's say you're at 12 o'clock, you can see, if you kind of go around to about 9 o'clock, that's where the cage with Anastasia, the young hedgehog, and Holt is. Then if you imagine at 3 o'clock, that's where the 2 archers are. There are also 2 rats with spears kind of pairing off against Holt. And you haven't noticed the rat in the trees.
Okay. Then I will attack. I'm going to use my hand and a half for the main attack, and then my hand axe for the offhand. And I'm going to go after the archers.
All right. The nearest archer is the one that actually shot at you and is just fumbling and knocking another arrow as you crash towards them. And so you'll have 2 normal attacks. Make your first. Actually, no, you won't. Sorry, because you'll have to use 1 lesser action to move in melee range of them, essentially. So you'll have one main attack.
So I'm reading Blood Wrath here. It says you get -2 dice to attack pulls. Does that mean,
Yes.
like, if I have a 5 in fighting, I would only roll 3?
You would
Or
roll
does that mean
3. You still get your bonus dice, though.
Okay.
Yeah, you would roll 3. So it means you're less accurate because you are basically a berserker right now, but you
Sure.
get a big plus to damage.
Alrighty. So that's a 14.
Absolutely, yeah, and that is enough to hit these guys. You can see they're not wearing much armor. They're pretty nimble, but your swing is wide enough to definitely catch this creature. What is the damage on? And this is your Bastard Blade, yeah?
Yes. So that is athletics +1, so that'd be 5.
That'd be 5 damage. Yeah, absolutely. And you just cleave into this rat. You see, you basically just open up a very large wound across its kind of torso area. It's still standing, but has taken a very bad injury. So, fantastic. That's your turn. back up to the top, Anastasia, you are chatting to the small hedgehog who's just essentially asked your name and says they feel like they recognize your name.
Sure. Makes sense. I'm very famous. So I look out over. I'm going to keep. You stay that side. I'm just going to peer over my shoulder, see how everyone's doing. Okay, it's going all right. Do I notice any immediate danger around me and the small hedgehog?
Not around you. In fact, it looks like Holt has intentionally placed himself between kind of you and the rats with the spears.
I just remember my manners, and I'm going to ask the small hedgehog's name.
The hedgehog kind of nods and says, my name's Coriam, miss.
Coriam. And am I right in saying, thinking that you're from Redwall?
Yes, it was the first time I've been allowed out to go mushroom picking, and I was very proud to be let out on my own. And then, next thing I knew, I'd been trussed up and dragged to this awful place.
It's not the best successful mission.
But I still count my own personal mission a success. And you see as he kind of brings a slightly squashed basket of little chestnut mushrooms from under his cloak.
Well done. Well done. I'm going to leave you in here, and I should probably I suppose, help my friends out a little bit.
All right. I'm afraid I'm not much of a fighter myself.
No, you're definitely staying here.
Okay.
Can't kill people with chestnut mushrooms.
Well,
other mushrooms sometimes.
You haven't tried my cooking.
Well, and now I never will. Yes, so I'm just gonna. You stay here. Here's a pair of garden shears, just in case.
Kind of hold on to them.
Yes. Exactly. One comes near you, get its tail, and I'm going to go back out there and help.
Okay. Be careful, milady.
Yes.
Take care. Okay.
Yes, I've done this before. It's fine.
You kind of just see him kind of mouthing kind of the word "wow" as you kind of
I know.
head off. Okay. I'm going to say that as you move to kind of the edge of the cage to step out, that will probably be your turn. Kind of in the chaos that's going on. Gruber. Oh, no, sorry, I missed out Holt. Holt, it is your turn.
So around me right now, is it just the ones that are...
2 rats with spears.
2 with spears, okay.
Yeah.
I think... They're too close for bow and arrow, aren't they? Would you say? Yeah, they would. Okay. He's just going to try pick them up and throw them.
All right. Okay. Make an athletics check.
Athletics check.
This will probably be a greater action, like the picking up and then the throwing. Will be like one big action.
Use my speciality die.
Oh boy, you're so athletic.
It's the only thing he does. He's not aware of it at all.
All right, you just grab this rat. Like, do you pick it up by the scruff of the neck? Do you pick it up around its waist?
He's kind of just gone for it. So it's almost like the scruff to just crash it or throw it or something.
All right, you are holding a rat at arm's length by the scruff of the neck. It's kind of hugging onto its spear at this point to not drop it, and then you launch it. All right, I'm going to say that's a good enough athletics check. That'll just cover this whole action. As it sails across the clearing, I will, however, have you roll an awareness check to see if you check to see where you were throwing it before you threw it.
Oh, I added to this. I have more than 2 dice. This is my upgrade.
All right, you don't throw it at Asher. Asher, you do see a rat sail through the air in front of you and crash into the undergrowth. It's gonna take, let's see, you succeeded by 3 degrees, so the rat's just gonna straight up take 3 points of damage from the fall. So that is rat 3.
Asher just nods. He's like, "Oh, good. Holt's still alive."
Just-
Whee! Okay, but it is now Gruber's turn.
All right. So, is the rat still above me? Can I still hear him?
Yes, you can hear that rat. And you can kind of hear that they've moved a little bit further away from you, seemingly taking cautious measures. But your
still
arrow is
within
not.
range?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It will get a
I'm
little
gonna-
bit of cover, but not major cover.
Okay. I'm gonna shoot at the rat.
Okay, make a marksmanship test.
What does he get for cover? Do I do less rolls or?
All it means is essentially it just ups the number you have to beat by 2 for light cover. Okay, yeah, you beat it. What is the damage on your bow?
It is 5.
Straight 5. Okay, so that's going to be a lot. Yeah, so you hear the squeal from the trees and you know that your arrow has definitely hit its mark.
Nice.
But it doesn't drop down just
Okay.
yet. Cool. Would you like to use your second lesser to kind of knock another arrow?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, you are ready to fire again on your next turn. It is now the rat's turn. The one up in the trees is going to move a little bit further away to try and be out of Gruber's range, and is then going to try and fire down on Asher, believing that to be the most dangerous target.
Right.
Oh my god, that's a bad roll. Actually, I have 2 advantages. I'm going to use those. That's much better. Cool. So that would total to be an 18. Asher, what's yours? Is 7, isn't it?
Correct.
Okay, so from this rat, you would take 8 damage, but it still doesn't get through because I need to roll really high for stuff to actually hurt you.
I'm sure you'll get there. I have faith in you.
One day.
One day.
If I was more of a meta DM, I'd just kill everyone else and make you watch.
I've realized I make characters that can't be hurt except by like the things they love.
Except by
Yeah.
emotions, by feelings.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. So tree rat has done its stuff. The rat that Holt didn't throw is going to attack with the spear. I'm going to both lesser actions because it's standing right there. So what did I give these guys? The first one doesn't hit. I'm rolling really bad. The second one does just about hit. So you take 1 point of damage, Holt, as it gets another little jab in there. So that's that one. Next up, we have the 2 archer rats, both of which are looking terrified up at Asher. One of them, with its bow drawn, is going to take about 1 movement's worth of movement backwards, kind of stumbling backwards as it lets an arrow fly towards Asher, kind of terrified. That's going to hit, but it's not anywhere near a larger margin enough to do damage, as again, you're just kind of this behemoth, just arrows just going ding, ding off of your armor as you kind of like breathe steam coming out through your nostrils. That one's not going to hit. The other one then, shaking slightly, uses 1 lesser action to swap to, what do they have? It also has a kind of spear on its back, and it's going to try and have at you with the spear. See if that goes any better. Oh, no, I didn't mean to roll 1. What am I doing? I need to roll 46. 19. So, this one is finally going to break the threshold. Oh, I've been excited for this day. Yes. Okay, you would normally take 12 damage from this, Asher. Reduced to 3.
Reduced to 3. All right.
The tank. For certain. Okay, so yes, you take 3 damage, and its other action is used in swapping its weapons, so that's that rat down. So the only rat that's left is the one that just sailed through the trees. This rat is going to have to use 1 lesser to get up, and 1 lesser to run back into the clearing. So you just see this rat that got thrown, covered in twigs and bits of leaf litter, just about get back to the edge of the clearing on its turn. And it is now Ash's turn.
Okay, so the 2 that I was engaged with are basically.
You are engaged. Currently, you're engaged with 1. The other one is backed off.
Okay. I am going to take just an attack on the one I'm engaged with. Then.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah.
Roll a fighting check. Oof, that's a good one. That's going to hit with a margin of 2, actually. So how much damage would you do? Normally 5, right?
5, yeah.
All right, double to 10. You cut down this rat that was already slightly injured. It is now down. You have 1 more lesser action. You can use it to kind of stomp terrifyingly up to the rat that was backing away.
Yes, I might as well.
All right, you just Terminator walk after this other rat. And we are back up to Anastasia. You are at the edge of the cage. I'll say it's kind of it'd be 1 movement to kind of move beyond and engage with the rat that's assaulting Holt, and then 1 movement, 1 action to attack if you'd like to do that.
I do that.
Okay, let's have a fighting check from you.
Fighting. So I have short blade thing, so I can do 3 plus my 1.
Yeah, you can. Awesome. So that's a 14. That's going to hit. It's going to be normal damage. So what is your damage with your... Is this your kind of cutlass?
Yes.
Scimitar?
Yes. It's a 5.
5. Wow. Okay, yeah. You, again, similar to Ash's first hit, you kind of cleave across this one's thigh, and you can kind of see it kind of squeal with pain. It's still up, but it is damaged.
Surprise!
You kind of hear a gasp from behind you. Clearly, Corium didn't really listen to you and is watching. Cool. Next up is Holt.
Yeah, Holt, I think, is looking a bit like a pincushion right now. I think he's got some arrows in him.
Yeah.
But I think he's just going, has it moved far enough away for the bow and arrow, or is it still...
Yes, so the one that you logged is now on the other side of the clearing. You could take a bow and arrow, it'll be 1 lesser action to switch to your bow, for at basically, and then 1 lesser to kind of cock the bow.
Yeah, he'll probably do that, and that'll be his getting ready. Sort of probably hurts as he's like, ow, reaching.
Yeah, your shoulder is in pain. Anastasia, you kind of hear the creaking as this longbow is kind of stretched to its full draw weight, and you know what usually happens after that. There's usually kebabs made. Okay, so after Holt, Gruber, you have an arrow knocked and ready.
Rat is still in the tree.
Yes, it has moved a little further, so it gets a bit more cover.
I'm just gonna fucking take down this rat.
Okay.
That's my goal right now, so I'm gonna shoot at him.
Oh wow, okay.
I want to use one of my advantages. Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it.
Wow!
That's rough. All right. What would your it's just your straight agility, isn't it? So what would damage would that be? 5. Okay. That is now enough as you hear a second squeal that's just abruptly cut short, and then the dark shape of this rat drops satisfyingly through the trees and hits the ground.
Nice.
Rat fighters no more. All right. And what would you like to do with your second lesser action? You can kind of prepare another shot.
Can I move closer with my second lesser action?
Yes, of course you can. You can move fully into the clearing if you would like.
Yeah. Where's Holt? Can I move near Holt? Or
yeah, you can go towards Holt, then essentially you'll be You'll be just out of range of the kind of the rat with the spear that's kind of fighting with Holt and Anastasia.
I will. Yeah, I'll move closer to Holt.
Okay, you start making your way towards Holt. Next up is the rats. The only one that is so far not injured is the one that's rapidly backing away from the terrifying presence of Asher. It's got its arrow knocked and ready, and it's just gonna, I think now that it's got this thing on top of it, it's just gonna drop it in favor of its spear and desperately try and just fend Asher off with this kind of expression of terror. And 13, so that will hit. However, with an 8 damage, it's not going to get past your armor, Asher. So there's just, you hear this kind of metal clanging and just increased terror of this rat as it keeps trying to like jab at Asher, but just can't seem to get through this kind of thick metal armor it's wearing. It doesn't seem to quite understand why nothing it's doing is having any effect. So that's that rat. The one that was tossed through the trees and has just reached the edge of the clearing is going to take its what did it have? Oh, it's got its spear. It's actually going to try and throw its spear at Asher, not wanting to get too close. Oh yeah, it's got a 7. Okay, it's good at throwing spears. Cool. That wasn't a 5 for the actual thing to throw. That was with a bonus dice for throwing. So that's gonna beat by enough to do some damage. Asher, you take 3 points of damage as this spear hurled is a lot stronger than just the jabs that this one in front of you is giving, and it manages to lodge between 2 of the plates of your armor, dealing 3 points of damage. But it is now unarmed, and that was its entire turn. So we have 1 rat left, which is the one Holt is bearing down at. It's gonna just go for another attack at Holt, and it gets 2 of these. First attack, a 12. I think that just about beats, so you're gonna take 1 point of damage as you soak 3.
Okay, he's not.
Oh my god, I've just seen the joke in chat. And then it's gonna make 1 more attack with the spear, since you're already engaged. And this is a 14, so this will also deal 1 point of damage.
Okay. He is looking a bit rough.
Not looking great. Okay, however, that is all of the rats' turns. So we are back up to Anastasia with your scimitar.
Actually, I'd like to kill something first, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I'm really sorry about that. I was looking at the wrong part. Asha, it is your turn.
The other A character.
You currently have a spear sticking out of your midriff.
I think because he's raging, he hasn't noticed it. He's definitely taking the damage. He's definitely bleeding, but I think he's still going to try to take down the rat that's been failing to pierce him.
Yeah, the one right in front of you.
Right.
Okay, you can make 2 attacks if you like, because you're already engaged.
I am going to see what the first one does, and we'll see from there.
Yeah, that's gonna definitely hit with a margin of 2, so you'll be doing double damage.
Okay, so that's 10. Is it 10 plus 1 plus 1, or is it just 10?
That'll be a straight 10 because it's the athletics.
Okay.
So, and it doesn't really matter because 10 damage, you just slay this rat instantly.
Okay. Am I able then to take my separate attack and throw my axe at the spear thrower?
I will let you throw your axe. It would be an agility-based roll rather than actually it'd be fighting, but the damage done would be agility.
Right. Okay. Then yeah, I'm going to aim for the I spin around and try to fly into the rat that threw the spear and lob my hand axe. So that's the fighting roll.
Oh boy, yep, that's gonna hit.
And
So
then
be equal to agility.
so that would be 2, and then with Blood Wrath plus 4, so that'd be 6.
Ouch. Yeah. This rat looking very, very rough. On its last legs, as you see it take this axe that just kind of cleaves through part of its shoulder, and it kind of reels back with the blow. And yeah, that was a pretty hefty amount of damage you did that turn. We now are back up to Anastasia.
Is this rat still in front of me?
There is still a rat in front of you.
Can I stab it?
All right, give me a stab check.
Oh, is it going to roll the other one? There we go. So I've changed that 1 for that 5.
Oh, lovely. Okay, so that's a tasty looking 15 total. That is going to hit. That's going to be, for this guy, normal damage. So what is your spear? 5. That's actually enough. You run this rat through.
Look
And
away!
and you see it kind of slump down in front of you with this kind of shock on its face as its captive, who they probably thought it was the most harmless one to take captive, and now they have been thoroughly rewarded for that oversight. There is one rat left. It is the one Asher has just heartily chopped, and it is looking very weak.
Well, I'm going to run over to Holt, because he's looking like a pincushion.
Yeah.
And on my next attempt, I'm going to try and do some healing-y, pull out the pins.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good to me. Holt, it is your turn. Anastasia has just rushed over to try and help you out.
I think he sees her coming, but because he's got his full out stretch, he just lets loose this arrow first before anything. But you'll probably hear just like that, ow, as it goes, because it's just, he's covered. He looks more like a hedgehog than she does right now.
All right, roll a marksmanship check.
Right, I have 2 speciality die in this one. Oh, hang on, I need to add those in. Okay, so I'll change out, I'll just take the 6, the 2, and the 4.
Okay, that's still going to be enough to hit. What's your damage with your bow normally?
Damage on the bow is
a lot.
9.
Yeah, that's absolutely gonna that's gonna do it as you just hit this rat straight in the heart, and you see it just topple over.
He sort of falls at the same time as he does it. Once it's let go, he sort of just crashes to the floor.
Absolutely. Okay, and with that, all of the rats have been felled. So we're out of initiative.
He's sort of hunched over, got like a one hand still wrapped around the bow, breathing heavily, just like he's trying to like read the one particularly in his shoulder. He's trying to pull it out.
Absolutely. As you okay, so essentially we get one healing check on you. You can either help Lady Anastasia, or Lady Anastasia can help you.
I have 1 in healing, so...
Okay, so you can add a 1 to the cumulative total of Lady Anastasia's roll.
Okay.
Asher and Gruber, think about what you'd also like to be doing. Okay, with a 14 plus the 1, and with that extra as well, that's going to be enough to do the maximum amount you can do. You would get back 3 hit points on that.
Thank you.
Okay, Gruber and Asher, what would you like to do? Now that the scene has calmed down, your enemies have fallen, and the forest kind of starts to grow quiet again.
Yeah, I think Asher's kind of coming out of his blood wrath. So he's still breathing a little heavy, but he's going to look around and just go, ow! And he's finally going to notice the spear that's sticking out of his midriff. And going to kind of just leave it there for a second, because pulling things out of wounds is not what you want to do.
Yeah.
But it is going to kind of snap to his memory that Gruber actually isn't doing too well either. So he's going to call out, Gruber, come get some first aid. I think we're all going to need a butt.
So it's
I'm
worth
gonna-
noting, Gruber can't themselves restore any more HP until you've all had a long rest. Because you essentially can only do one of those quick first aid checks before you can see a proper trained physician anyway.
Then I guess without healing Gruber, he will try to heal himself.
Okay, roll a healing check for me. Okay, you can definitely also heal 3 points.
Holt has just sort of flopped back and just sort of sat there, letting Lady Anastasia just do whatever she needs to, and he just sits.
I shout, "You can come out of the cage now. It's okay."
You all see now this hedgehog who looks about the same age as Anastasia, kind of timidly making their way out of the cage, and they're clad in this very warm-looking green woolen cloak and this darker forest green habit underneath, and they seem to be clutching this small basket. It's also worth noting that all of you, maybe not Holt, because Holt was very focused in the battle, the rest of you would have seen this change come over Asher when he went into battle this time. That hasn't really happened before. You saw the whites of his eyes turn red, and this kind of mindless incredible strength that he just used to kind of decimate his enemies.
Question. That cloak that he's wearing, does it look like the one that I used to wear before I got this lovely new one that I made?
It actually doesn't. It's
That's good.
slightly different
Haven't eaten
style.
food before. So good to know. This is coriander or something like that, and
it's just coriander, miss.
Oh, coriander. He is from Redwall Abbey. He was out picking mushrooms and got stealed.
To be fair, they do sometimes call me coriander because I tend to put too many herbs whenever I do cooking.
Are those the mushrooms? Hello, by the way. And he's sort of like looking over it.
Yeah. Well, they're fresh. I just gathered them this afternoon. Well, it probably was this morning now. It's been a while. I'm not really. It can be hard to keep track of time in this forest. I didn't really think about that when I set out.
You know, badgers love mushrooms.
Oh, well, that's good. I mean, it's very late. I must admit, I was actually starting to doze off a little bit before you arrived. If you'd like, I mean, there's a great big fire here. It would seem like a shame to waste it. I can try and make a mushroom soup or something, just a way of saying thank you.
I'll cook.
That's a better idea.
Fine. I'll do the cooking.
Guess that's probably for the best. I could try and see if there's anything else interesting around this area to flavor it with. I mean, just mushrooms isn't much.
Sure, you do that. I'll get the kettle on. Do you recognise the badger at all?
He narrows his eyes and then shakes his spiny head. Says, "No, I don't think I've ever seen you before."
Did you ever get out much?
Well, yeah, I've only been at Redwall for about less than that. It's not been long at all, maybe a week or two. My family, we used to live a little way from the abbey. We had a little home out towards the west, but well, we heard about the creatures. There's been a lot of talk in the forest. Those of us who live outside the abbey, of dangerous beasts roaming and burning people's homes and taking their things and people not seeing them again. So my mum and dad thought, well, probably safer to be staying at the abbey. So we packed up all our stuff and we travelled there a little while ago, and we're just really settling in. You see, it's a bit strange. I always lived out in the forest. I could go wherever I wanted. So I was very excited to be let out for my first kind of gathering, and I was going to get all the best ingredients. I'm not the best cook, but I'm very, very good at finding things, you see.
Oh,
But then-
maybe you shouldn't be going out and foraging for the rest of the stuff on your own, mate. And like Colt sort of starts to get up.
Well,
I'll go with Corey and
and you see him perk up. Well, thank you very much. All right. Well, if we check around here, it kind of looks like the place there might be some wild onions or something.
Corey, sorry, go ahead.
No, after you.
Could quickly before you leave, I just you don't happen to know anyone with metal teeth, do you?
No, that sounds very painful.
It does. All right, forget I asked anything. Enjoy your foraging.
Thank you very much. And he kind of beckons to Gruber and kind of starts rooting around the edges of this clearing. Gruber, if you are also having a look, if you could also roll, what did I think it was a survival check I did.
Can
for
I
this
roll a
last time.
forage check instead?
Yes.
Why is forage a stealth?
I don't know.
Seems weird.
Consult Green Ronin. All right. Well, actually, you both rolled the same. You both root round, and after a few minutes, well, probably closer to 10, 20 minutes, you both kind of get back, and you've both got armfuls of different interesting things. There was a wild rosemary bush kind of growing on the outsides of this clearing, which is always good for flavoring stews. You also did indeed find some wild onions between you, and a few other kind of locally growing herbs. And also a couple of kind of edible tubers that would also help kind of bulk up a stew. Between you, enough ingredients to make actually quite a nice, nutritious meal.
I want to ask Corianne some questions while we're alone.
Sure.
Corianne, you are from Redwall.
Yeah, that's right.
And you were out here by yourself, foraging in this dark and scary forest.
Well, I mean, it was still light when I started foraging. It was kind of mid-afternoon. It was a really nice day.
About how far away are we from Redwall?
He kind of wrinkles his nose, and you see the whiskers twitch as he thinks. Well, they kind of dragged me for quite a way, and they moved very fast. So I'd say, I mean, I was about to turn back when they found me because it was starting to get dark. Probably all in all, if you're gonna march the whole way and move quite quick, probably about a day's travel from here to Redwall.
Do you often forage for mushrooms alone in the forest?
Oh, I used to do it all the time. Yeah, I used to find a lot of food. My mum and dad would cook for us and me and my sisters. But since I got to Redwall, well, they grow a lot of stuff within the boundaries of the keep there. But there are some kinds of mushrooms that just you can't get, and I really thought they would help spruce up the cooks' dishes. So I pleaded and pleaded, and I mean, I'm old enough to go where I please now. It's just until recently, obviously, they've been a bit cautious. But the consensus was that the threat had mostly gone. It was a while back that the bad beasts were in Mossflower country, so they proposed it might be safe by now. They didn't seem very happy though. It's strange. When we got there, it's as if the whole place is melancholy.
The camp of cannibals is melancholy?
No. I mean, Redwall itself seemed melancholy, despite the fact that these bad beasts had supposedly gone away.
Are you able to fight at all? Did you put up a fight when you were kidnapped by the rats?
I mean, I tried, but I didn't really have any kind of a weapon with me. I had a walking stick, which is good for bashing plants apart to get to the good mushrooms, but I'm not really a trained fighter at all.
So you went out into dangerous territory, unarmed and unprepared. Interesting.
Well, Mossflower Wood isn't usually dangerous at all.
Well, It's a good thing that we were here to save you from being eaten.
Kind of
Alive.
nods enthusiastically. Oh, you think that's what they would have done?
Oh, yeah. I've seen this before. This is a classic cannibal encampment.
You see him just go very pale and is a bit quiet for a little while.
Well, I suppose it's best that we keep gathering these roots and make our compatriots a hearty stew. I imagine that there are more cannibals on their way here as we speak. They tend not to group up. It would be best, I think, if we were ready for the next round of battle.
He nods enthusiastically and is noticeably quicker on your way back to camp.
It's just another Tuesday for Gruber. Yep, Cannibal Camp. Seen it a million times.
I've seen this before.
All right.
Are there any cigarettes in Redwall? I just want to be like...
Sadly not, although you could probably Radagast style like find something interesting to put in a pipe. Be a bit more Gandalf than Rambo though. But needless to say, the two of you arrive back at the camp, your kind of arms fairly full with ingredients to add to the stew.
In the time that they've been foraging, I think Asher is trying to pile up the bodies in a singular. He was going to put them in the bonfire and then decided that would kind of spoil the meal. So yeah, he's at least moved them aside and also seen if there's anything of value. Maybe pulled arrows out if he could.
Yeah, you can make a. Let's have a look. As I find, okay, make a survival check for me. Okay, you are able to retrieve about half of the arrows without kind of breaking them. So if all of you kind of know how many arrows you fired, you get back half of that rounded down. So unfortunately for Holt, who only fired one, your one longbow shaft that you fired sadly splintered, went on impact. But anyone else who fired, I think Gruber, you'd get half of your arrows back. I think anyone else used archery.
Can I maybe retrieve my hand axe?
Of course you can. Yeah, your hand axe is fine. It takes a little bit of rooting around in the undergrowth, but you find it.
And in the meantime, I've raided the cannibals' kitchens. Didn't ask too many questions about some of the stuff. And I found some butter, and I'm cooking the mushrooms in some butter, and herby things, and just
you find a few
garlic.
You find some garlic stashed away. So there's this delicious kind of garlic butter mushroom smell, kind of wafting up and crackling as the kind of the oil from the butter kind of spits from the pan.
Some thick slices of bread, and I put them near the fire so they can toast a little bit. And it's a good smell.
And you also find you do also find a very large kind of iron pot and a tripod that can be placed over the fire, although it doesn't look like the pot has been cleaned since its last use.
As to the flavour, it's fine. No, I'm definitely cleaning.
Cannibals, just saying. Holt is like, looks a bit dreary, like, you know, when you've just patched someone up. He's like, his whole body's not really moving. He's slumped up against the tree, but he cranes his neck so that he can sniff.
I start like
mushrooms, and he's like,
in the smell over towards.
Yeah, he's just like licking his lips as it happens.
Yeah, I clean that bowl. Yeah.
All right, make a craft check for your overall cooking attempts.
Yeah, I don't have any cooking skills.
Okay, it's a very practical, serviceable stew. It's nothing gastronomically extravagant, with any. There's no doubt of that. But it is filling and it is satisfying, and most importantly, it kind of fills all of your bellies after the very long, strange schedule that you've had of today. It is now, by the way, it's probably about 2 or 3 in the morning equivalent. It is a few hours before dawn.
Shall we get about sleep?
Yeah, Holt's like a mixture of trying to stay awake because of the smell, but also really tired, as he didn't sleep at all, I don't think.
No, I think Holtz did. It was actually Anastasia that didn't sleep.
That was it, yeah.
No, I did. I slept in the boat.
Yes, yeah,
Oh,
you
I
sleep
got
during, yeah.
kidnapped.
So you all had a few hours sleep, but it has now been a while since then, and you did just kind of survive a rather hairy battle. But yes, the stew comes to be ready, and you can kind of serve that out. Everyone, including Corium, has a nice little bowl of stew. You find a few old kind of bowls, and you have your own from your packs and supplies as well, so there's no worry about that. And yes, you're able to have a full meal that makes you feel very satisfied. What would you like to do now?
I think Holt dozes off. Like, he can't help it. He's lolling in his head, like where his head is drooping, and he's still licking his lips as he finally sort of just drops off. Like, stays in the exact position where he was propped up against a tree, but that's where he stays.
I'll stay on guard for a little bit because I was the last one to wake up.
Okay.
And I didn't take any injuries because I stayed in a cage for most of it.
All right, so would the rest of you like to bunk down for the night?
Yeah, I think so.
And
For sure.
Gruber?
Yeah.
All right, so the 3 of you and Corium, you kind of find somewhere comfy enough around the fire. The fire is now burning a lot lower and starting to be a bit less of an inferno. Corium just kind of tries to snuggle up in this warm cloak that he has. Clearly isn't used to sleeping out rough, but doesn't complain, doesn't make a meal of it, just seems to be quite, for his slight timidness, seems to be a very practical hedgehog, and just kind of curls up. The rest of you also feel yourself drifting off into sleep. Anastasia, could you make an awareness check for me?
And I have notice. I didn't mean to roll it twice. Ignore the second one.
Okay. All right, that's still very good. As you keep an eye out, dawn is slowly approaching, and you can see beyond the treetops the light that starts to, like a very ethereal, almost violet, pinkish light that starts to kind of bathe the woodland. And it's also very, very cold. It hasn't quite turned to frost yet, but there is this thick dew that lies over all of the forest floor and the leaves that kind of gets through to your bones and chills you. But it is incredibly beautiful as the light of dawn also kind of reflects through all of these dewdrops, and it feels like you're sitting in a clearing dusted with glitter all around you with the light. And nothing else seems to bother you as your companions sleep. Would you like to wake them to get some of your own rest, or continue on?
No, I'll just continue. It's fine.
Okay.
I'll just let them all sleep. They've worked harder than I have.
All right, so dawn breaks fully, and you hear the sounds of kind of the dawn chorus and birds starting to awaken and make calls all around you. Nothing else comes to interfere with the camp. It seems you are left to yourselves. The fire has now burned fully down till it's just glowing embers. And by now it's getting on for about 9, starting to kind of edge towards 10 in the morning before the rest of your party will start to slumber. Who do you think wakes up first?
I'd like to think Asher does.
You aren't been wearing half plate and it is cold.
That's fair. I kind of think that, maybe with his background, he has some experience sleeping in armor.
At least you probably have the most experience with kind of self-discipline to wake up when you're sleeping out.
Yeah.
I would say.
I think Holt takes a while to wake up because he was so knackered, and after being injured, he's just out. Like, unless someone wakes him up, he probably won't wake up for it.
I wake him up.
Yeah, it's like, is it breakfast time? It's breakfast time.
Yes.
I wake up
Mushrooms.
when Holt wakes up because I was sleeping right behind him.
Yeah, it's like that.
You will feel the kind of aches and sting of your injuries as you start moving, and any kind of cuts that have started to scab over have that nasty kind of crackly feeling as you try and move.
So we don't heal during long rest, right? We only heal with medicine checks.
Yes, you can only heal by actively, healing, if that makes sense, because the system is quite punishing in terms of injuries in combat.
So when can we do like a treat injury again? When can we do?
You can do another one now because you have had a long rest.
Okay.
If you would all like to try and re-bandage or kind of dress your wounds before you set off.
I'll help Holt. I know.
Thank you.
And
He needs
I'll take a
it.
look at Gruber and just check over his stuff.
Okay. So everyone who is going to be doing some healing, roll healing checks for me.
So do I roll one for Holt as well? Do I add one dice? or
Essentially,
I
you
am
don't add
helping.
one dice, you add 1 point to the
Oh, 1
overall
point.
result.
Okay. So I get 12.
4.
Okay. So with 12 and with an amazing 24, both Gruber and Holt, you both can restore 3 hit points. And the way that hit points are quite abstract in this game, they more represent kind of the shock and blood loss in combat as opposed to actual injuries, because injuries are something you can take by choice, which are much harder to heal, but can stop you essentially being dealt enough shock damage that would render you unconscious, if that ever comes up. But yes, you would both restore 3 hit points as such.
I think
Almost
Asher's
fully
gonna look
healed.
around Frost and gonna go, "Oh, this is my favorite time of year. I love the chill in the morning, don't you?"
Whereas Holt, you see like this hair go all the way up the back, just like on end, like. Ooh. Oh.
Yeah, you haven't got quite so many layers on.
Yeah, he's like, okay, mates, I don't know about you, but I'm gonna, I want to get moving. And he's doing like this really pathetic jog on the spot because he also still hurts a bit.
Well, yes,
Cordium,
let's
do
get
you know the
moving.
way? Yeah, Cordium, do you know the way back to Redwall? Can you just there without any problem?
Oh, sure. I mean, I was dragged a little bit through the woodland, but I'm sure I can work it out. I'm pretty sure it's this way. This way.
Gruber, you're pretty good at deciding ways
I
to
think
go.
I can figure out how to get to Redwall from here. And I'm gonna go up to Cardi B and like take their hands. It's my new name for them. Take their hands and like sniff their hands and then like throw dirt in my face. And then kind of spin around in a circle really fast.
Holt's like, it's okay. He knows what he's doing.
Well, sure. Okay. If you need any, I'll just stay quiet.
Would that be an orientation roll?
Yes.
Every time this happens, Asher just like clenches the map.
I
just a
definitely
little
want to
tighter.
use one of my last advantage.
Oh my god, triple 1.
Oh,
Not treating you well. Thankfully, the roll is still overall good enough for you to get a decent idea of which way is east, thanks to the way the sun is rising. You kind of do this complex routine of spinning around, throwing dirt, and then you look up and see the sun and are like, oh yeah, that's probably east. And you strike out in that direction. All right, so are you all just going to start traveling?
Yes.
Hulk's like sat there rubbing his hands. He's like, "There's a
Take more
fire."
bread
At
and
this.
butter, and I hand it out to everyone, so we've got bread and butter to eat on the way.
There's a fire at this place, right, mate? Like as he's rubbing his paws together.
Corium kind of smiles happily now. He's kind of excited about going. Kind of, oh well, which one do you want to hear about? There's the Great Hearth down in Cavern Hole, which is this big hollowed out cavern underneath the actual abbey. You see, and there's a huge hearth there. And they sometimes, if we're lucky, in autumn and winter, they'll take dinner down there and tell stories whilst we all eat round the fire. But also, all of the dormitories have little hearths in as well. I know that my room has a really nice fire, and I like to. I've only been there for a few weeks, but it's already lovely to have that on when I go to bed at night. Keeps my tools warm, and then he just starts rambling on about all the things he likes about living at this place.
Hulk's like shoving this bread and butter in his mouth and nodding, genuinely interested.
Okay, as you continue your way through the forest, could I have everyone make awareness checks for me? Oh wow, Asher. 4 6s.
I think Asher is also like paying attention to the poem. He's directly looking for a dirt path, and he also has a 1 in tracking, so he's also looking for like paw prints along
Definitely.
tracks to see if he can find anything that's like well traveled.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well actually you are the one who notices first. You've been walking for a little while, and you find yourself slowly kind of cutting your way through the woods. You're all pretty sure you're going east, and Corium hasn't said anything, so you think if you were definitely going the wrong way, Corium might have piped up. But you do find yourself in another. It's not a clearing as big as the last one you left. It is just a slight absence of the thickness of trees you've come to expect. And Asher, as you're walking through this area, you see a couple of trees have been felled to make this area. You also notice that there has been some fresh growth since whatever happened here. And kind of green shoots have sprouted up in areas where it looks like the ground was kind of trampled down. And the rest of you also see all of this. You also notice a large boulder with these deep slash marks across it. However, Asher, you're the only one that notices something metallic glinting in the undergrowth to your right in this same area.
I think he's going to tell the others to kind of like hold up his hand, like stop, and he's going to draw his sword and shield and yell towards the glinting metal. Halt! Who goes there?
There are a few moments of quiet, but it seems
Halt goes right there.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
There is no response.
I think he's just gonna edge towards it.
Okay. As you do so, you kind of peer through the undergrowth, and it looks as if new plants that you can see, dock leaves, nettle, ivy, all of these have grown up through the bones of a skeleton. Could you roll either survival or nature for me?
I'm going to use an advantage. One of my many advantages.
You do have a lot to use.
Yeah, I'm actually going to use 2 advantages for that.
Okay, so you just about put up high enough for you to recognize what it is. You see that it's a long, lithe body, but it's too small to be an otter. You think it might be a weasel skeleton that's just been kind of tossed in this kind of knoll beside the main clearing. And as you recognize that, you start to notice a few more things. The shape of the trees, the slashes in the boulder. You recognize this place. This clearing, and you look up and you can see almost faded away completely now, but there is evidence of kind of the chafing of rope against bark of the trees above and the branches. And you recognize pretty sure that this was the clearing from the vision that you all had of being tied up and forced down and made to look into the eyes of the great serpent in front of the foxes.
I think when he realizes that, he's going to spin around to the others and go, "Do you remember this place? With the big snake."
And once he's pointed that out, the rest of you start to get the feeling that, yeah, this is quite familiar. And then you put two and two together and you kind of recognize this clearing from the place you saw in your vision.
We were here not that long ago.
We got to be close to where we want to be now then, right?
We can't be too far from Redwall. We were protecting it at the time.
And if you could just tell me who still has injuries in this group? And if so, how much?
Just one.
2.
Okay, so everyone but Lady Anastasia, basically. It's been a long morning's travel after a rough night. And as I say, your bodies are still quite painful. Could everyone roll me an endurance check? I knew Asher would be fine with this one.
Oh, he's a hardy fella. Oh, Alice.
I just can't roll dice. It's not allowed.
Asher, you wince. The wound from the spear is painful, but you're able to kind of condition your mind past it. Like you're a trained warrior. This isn't really bothering you. Gruber, you're starting to feel quite tired. It's difficult to carry up this pace without agitating the wounds you've already taken and kind of opening them up again. And you're starting to feel quite tired, and the wounds they certainly aren't going to get any better if you keep traveling like this. Holt, your shoulder is killing you. It's incredibly painful. You reckon you might have stretched it further when you loosed your longbow last night. And it's giving you an awful lot of pain. And you know if you keep up this pace, you're going to start essentially taking more damage because you'll be bleeding.
He's got like his hand on the tree, and he sort of winces. He's like, I might need to rest just a little bit more, mate. So I'm just, feeling a little bit queasy. And he sort of like leans against this tree more than anything else.
Corium looks very concerned. Oh, I didn't realize you were so badly injured. I'm sorry. Oh, what are we gonna do? And he just starts kind of freaking out a little bit.
Like, why are you sorry, mate? You didn't shoot me. And then he's just sort of like, did you? He's getting a bit delirious.
No, I definitely didn't. I'm just sorry. I don't know. And he's also freaking out, clearly not used to seeing people kind of wounded.
Maybe it would be best if we took just a short break since we've been traveling all morning and get to Redwall later tonight or even tomorrow.
Sounds great. And he sort of slumps down by the tree.
I think that's a good idea. I think Asher's going to go over to Holt and just make sure that, I'm sure Holt's already asleep in Holt fashion, but just make sure that he's not lying on his shoulder, that it's getting a little air, and that he's at least has a blanket.
Yeah,
he probably actually uses you almost to help him lower himself down, because where his shoulder is, it's kind of awkward. Otherwise, he's just going to fall.
Okay, so everyone is kind of taking a rest. Are any of you going to essentially take any naps? What are you going to are you just going to sit and recuperate for a bit?
I'm gonna nap.
I'm gonna nap. I stayed up to watch, so I will nap.
I'm going to get a small fire going.
Okay. So everyone who's napping, could you roll willpower checks for me, please? And Asher, could you please roll a survival check? And you can add one as Corium kind of skitters around helping you find good kindling and stuff like that.
Add one to the roll or add one?
The overall result.
Okay. Oh, and by the way, he did make sure that their last fire was thoroughly put out and the ashes and everything were scattered.
Yeah, that's
because
fair.
only you can prevent forest fires.
Asher has a night job as a smoky.
He does, yeah. He's a mascot for the local forest.
All right. Well, the good news is you and Coriam between you are able to safely make a kind of nice little campfire to keep you warm and just to provide a bit of comfort. The rest of you, Holt, you are absolutely exhausted, and the pain from your shoulder somehow just tires you further, and you find yourself kind of dozing off very quickly. However, Anastasia and Gruber, you take a little longer to get to sleep. It's now late morning, early afternoon. The noises of the forest are at their peak, so it takes you some time. And when you do, you're only lightly asleep. Anyone watching you could see your eyes moving behind your eyelids as you both start to dream. You're back in this clearing. It looks almost the same as it does now, except the slashes in the boulder are fresh. The ground has been recently trampled. You are there again. You are on your knees just like you were before. You are tied up and you see the eyes of the great serpent in front of you. It's just like you remember. But then the dream starts to change and morph, and it's almost as if it's playing backwards. You feel yourselves being dragged into this clearing. You have been fully tied up and you're struggling. You are cursing the strongest curse words you know. You're being dragged by a pair of strong-looking stoats and a weasel who's anxiously looking over their shoulder. And the dream continues to backtrack. And it's confusing kind of being here whilst your own memories play in reverse. But all of a sudden, you are strung up the way you were originally caught. You remember now, you walked straight into those traps, being hoisted up into the air by your ankles whilst you were running through the woods, trying to escape those that were pursuing you. And then you remember more than you got from that first vision. You remember setting out from Redwall. Whilst you can't quite see the inside of the immense building, you remember these amazingly tall, stronger and taller than any other structure you can remember. These red sandstone walls and this thick oaken gate closing behind you. And you were setting out with friends, your close friends, your other brave Redwallers who had volunteered to go out into the woods. And this daring plan that you all had, the small group of you. At the time, Redwall wasn't home to many fighters. Of course, you had the illustrious Lord Ashfell as the official protector of Redwall. But aside from that, Redwall didn't have animals trained for combat. It was a place of peace, of plenty, and somewhere to grow and learn. And so when you did find word that a raid, a small band of bandits, of outlaws had been seen in the area, you decided the best course of action would be for a small group of strong, feisty volunteers to attack them from the cover of night, to attack them without the enemy ever really knowing how many of you there were, by using guerrilla tactics to make them think that there were far more of you than there actually were, so that they would, of course, retreat and flee and never return to Redwall Abbey. And that is what you set out to do. You remember taking the path, heading southwest, and you remember seeing the dirt path underfoot, the trees above, and hearing in the far distance the twin bells of Matthias and Methuselah, the bells of the Abbey, wishing you farewell and good luck on your task. And then the dream starts playing in the right direction again, and it speeds up. Once again, you're caught, you walk into the trap, you're dragged to the clearing, and then you see, once again, the fox, the huge grey-brown fox with this fur dropping off of it and these white tufts of fur appearing underneath. You see as he, with this dark, horrific to see fury in these very dark, almost black grey eyes. You see this fury as, with one strike of this paw, he slashes these deep gouges in this boulder in the clearing. And there's enough detail in the dream for you to be able to see that he's wearing these long leathery gloves with these reinforced steel claws. You see as he picks up the weasel that had been part of your group, berating it for allowing itself to be followed, and just snaps this subordinate's neck and throws it into the undergrowth. And then you're back with the eyes of the adder, and the dream fades away. It is a little while later that you awaken. Asher still kind of prodding the fire, Corium trying to be useful where he can, but the three of you awaken. But most importantly, you now remember exactly the way from here to Redwall. You remember where you ran to, where you got caught, and the way you were dragged. And you're pretty confident that you could remember the direct route from here to the Abbey.
Holt sort of sits up and he's like, I know where I am. And I think I know where to go. Is that just me, or?
No, that's good, Holt. And Asher, not having shared in the dream, is going to check him for a fever.
I mean, his wound is bad. It doesn't seem to be infected, thankfully.
Okay.
Yes, I don't think we're too far away now. I think.
Well, if you knew where to go, take us there.
Sure. Can do.
Not you, Holt.
Oh.
Holt's like, what? He starts standing up. He's like, I'm very unaware. I may know where I'm going, but and he starts,
just said you know where we are.
I know where we are. And he pauses and like puts his nose to the air and starts sniffing.
Roll an awareness check for me, Holt.
Okay.
Ooh,
Actually
15.
good for him.
That's a very good roll. You pick up a few things that suddenly pique your interest. Firstly, there is the scent of nearby running water. Then you wrinkle your nose and frown. There is a very familiar scent, this kind of slight peppery scent mixed with this earthiness. And you can't put your finger on exactly what the smell is, but all you know is it suddenly fills you with intense joy and relief.
Yeah,
and it's nearby.
His nose twitches. He sort of stands upright, almost ignoring his shoulder, and he's like, can you smell that? And he starts wandering off in the direction of the smell and probably the river as well.
Asher's quickly trying to put out the fire as Holt's now leaving the camp and the clearing.
He's actually just wandering. He's following his nose.
Gonna roll water.
I'm gonna follow.
I grab Coriander's hand and follow.
Oh, we're going already. Sure, hold on. And he just kind of grabs his stuff that had been on the ground and like jogs after Anastasia.
Rachel, just to be clear, the glint of metal was like armor or something?
Yeah, the metal was basically a slightly rusted weapon that'd been on the weasel's person.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Then, yeah, trying to follow after.
Holt is like trudging like through, not being very like he's purely following the smell and is trying to listen out for the water, not really thinking that anything could jump out at him, but he's walking.
Yeah. Holt, you carry on through the forest. You're veering ever so slightly away from the direct path to Redwall, but this feels right. This feels like where you're supposed to go, nonetheless. And you follow your nose for a little bit longer until you see glinting through the trees the glint of the running water. And now all of you can hear it as well. It's a fast-flowing, shallow river. In fact, it might even have been the continuation of where the river you were on before could eventually have met up to. And you can see about half a dozen large-looking creatures that are in the river. It looks as if they're just cooling off and taking a break. There is laughter. There is kind of teasing and splashing. Holt, you instantly see that they are all otters. But you're still kind of seeing them from a short distance.
He sort of pauses. He hasn't seen another otter for a very long time. And he pauses. And for a moment he stands almost like he's not subtle at all. He's just stood like in a bush, like watching whatever's happening. And he doesn't think. And he sort of calls out. He's like, hello mate, so you hello, like, and he just sort of like puts his paw up in the air, not really knowing what to do, and slowly emerges from this bush with this big sort of waddle on him.
You instantly hear that these creatures were just having what seemed to be just like a relaxing bit of time off and playing in the water almost. As soon as you make a sound, there's just this well-oiled reaction of instant concentration and attention. And you hear a strong kind of female voice shout, "Skipper, did you hear that?" And then an otter that looks to be one of the tallest immediately is looking around and locks eyes with you. And in that moment, there's this sharp frown before the expression softens. And it's still an intense look in the eye from this otter. And he's kind of on the other side of the river. But then as soon as he locks eyes with you, he starts striding towards you. What are the rest of you doing?
I was following Holt the whole time, so I'm just standing awkwardly next to Holt, and as this other otter strides towards us, I'm gonna kind of like round out my shoulders and you know, like settle into the ground, but I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna wait for Holt.
Holt looks very confused right now. He's like,
I'm gonna take Coriander's head and just push us both down the bushes.
Yeah, you are well hidden, and the reeds on the side of this river perfectly blend in with your long kind of brown spines.
I think I'm judging by my initiative rolls and the fact that I was like putting the fire out. I think I'm just now catching up, and then he just freezes.
Yeah, you also all see this incredibly large, well-built otter who looks to be just a little bit taller than Holt himself, but very well-muscled and lean, and wearing this incredibly well-crafted leather armor that just seems to flow incredibly water dynamic with the body. But this tough-looking male otter reaches you, Holt, looks you in the eye, and then you are just dragged into the tightest hug you can ever remember as you hear this gruff voice say in your ear, "Holt, when the heck did you get so tall?"
And he just stands there with his arms like, it's like, I mean, I grew, I'm really sorry, mate. Is this how we, okay. And he sort of like does like a little pat hug back.
You feel this kind of housing of your head, which is like so hard, you kind of feel the teeth rattle. And he says, "Oh, well, it's clear, matey, that my jackets certainly don't fit you anymore." And he just kind of takes a step back and looks at you and smiles. And when he smiles, that's when you recognize this individual. This otter is, without a doubt, your older brother.
And he sort of looks at him for a long time, looks down at his jacket, squints, and there's probably quite a quiet pause as he's like looking up and down this otter. And then he probably jumps on him because he's not seen him since he was like a dibbon. So
Yeah.
he sort of crashes straight into this
The two
otter.
of
Probably
you
takes
just
him out.
The two of you just roll backwards, laughing, and just splash back into the river. And the rest of you just see this reunion and this laughing of these two very tough otters who, in this moment, are just embracing and like almost like play tussling in the water as they kind of.
I've grabbed him like from the water and I'm looking at the others. I'm like, "It's my brother! Look!" Like just pointing at him.
And with this scene, I think this is probably a good place to hold it for tonight.
Awesome.
Since we are having a slightly shorter one today because I've got birthdays to attend to.
No, thank you so much. I finally get his brother.
Yay!
Being good otters. I love good otters.
You just imagine it if they're just otters, you just see this kind of like happy squeaking.
Yeah. Anyone else, it's just happy squeaking rolling around. I love it. My favorite animals are otters. So thank you so much, everyone. So a few things before we head off. Please go check out our Discord. You can find a channel purely for this game, and we'd love to hear what you think about it. We also have a YouTube. If you haven't seen, if you've missed on any episodes before this, you can go and catch up on the playlists on YouTube. We have our Twitter links you can find down there, and also a huge thank you to our wonderful sponsors who we couldn't do this without, in the form of the Deck of Many, where you can find their amazing magic cards, and also Mage Hand Press, where you can see me run Argo 37 tomorrow. Yes, it is Thursday tomorrow. Otherwise, I'm so excited for next week now to actually yay! So keep evoking emotions, everyone, and we'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.